Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're taking a magnifying glass to a name that's probably popped up on your radar, Quantum Corp. This is your custom-tailored deep dive designed to cut through the market noise. We want to give you the clearest, most unfiltered insights from, well, every angle, from balance sheets all the way to technical charts. Our mission today is to really unpack that burning question. Is Quantum Corp a good time to buy right now? We'll be looking at a pretty significant player in the competitive tech hardware storage sector. Before we jump in, if you find these deep dives valuable, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and maybe leave a comment. It truly helps us bring more of these to you. And if you're feeling extra generous, hey, consider buying us a coffee. Your support keeps the show going. Okay, let's play financial detective today. Our goal is to evaluate Quantum Corp as a potential investment. We're piecing together clues from its fundamental health to market sentiment. We're trying to see if it's maybe a hidden gem or perhaps more of a warning sign.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how these different analytical lenses, the financials, the stock charts, the market mood, how they combine, they give us a truly complete picture, helping us understand not just what the data says, but more importantly, why it actually matters for an investment decision.
Right. So to truly understand Quantum Corp, we first need to peel back the layers and look at the foundation. Are they standing on solid ground, or is it maybe more like quicksand? What's their financial health actually like?
Well, Quantum Corp's financial snapshot is pretty stark, actually. While they are bringing in revenue nearly $286 million over the last 12 months, that's their trailing 12-month figure.
Okay.
They're hemorrhaging cash at, frankly, an alarming rate. We're talking a significant net loss here, about $124.72 million.
Wow.
And that translates to a negative earnings per share, or EPS, of almost $18. I mean, this isn't just a small loss. It's a real financial bleed.
Now, this next point on their balance sheet is particularly striking.
Mm-hmm.
It often raises a lot of eyebrows for investors. Their debt-to-equity ratio is negative 69.8%. Can you walk us through what that actually implies about their financial stability?
Yeah, a negative debt-to-equity ratio is a serious red flag, no question. It literally means the company owes more than it owns. Their liabilities just far exceed their shareholder equity.
Right.
Imagine being underwater before you even start swimming. It really paints a picture of a company facing severe financial distress, potentially on the brink unless, they have strong cash reserves or some immediate financing comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And when we connect this to the bigger picture, I mean, this is a competitive tech and hardware storage sector, right? Technologies evolve rapidly, and there's just no clear evidence of a dominant competitive advantage, that moat, that might offset these fundamental challenges.
Okay, so the company's financials look, well, challenging, to put it mildly. But does the market see something we don't? Or are investors just as concerned about Quantum Corp's future? Let's turn our attention to how the market values it and maybe what the crystal ball might be showing.
Well, the current stock price for Quantum Corp is hovering around $8.65. This is as of July 2025. And this raises that important question. What do the forecasts suggest?
Yeah.
Looking ahead, the market's crystal ball for Quantum Corp appears decidedly grim. Forecasts show a nearly 7% slide expected by next month, potentially dropping to about $8.04 by August 2025. And here's where it gets really stark. There's a longer-term projected drop toward approximately $4.42. That's in the 2025-2030 range, based on different models.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, it's not just a suggestion. It's really a loud warning from the market that it sees major hurdles ahead, potentially halving its current value.
So, speaking of those losses, how do we even begin to value a company that's, bleeding cash like this? What are the key metrics that just become useless, and what should we maybe look at instead?
That's a critical point. Since Quantum Corp is unprofitable, traditional metrics like the price to earnings or PE ratio, well, they just can't be calculated in a meaningful way.
Right.
It just reinforces the severe caution signaled by those negative earnings and the forecast losses we just talked about. And while a detailed discounted cash flow or DCF analysis wasn't available in our sources, those bearish price forecasts we discussed strongly imply that future cash flows are just not expected to be robust at all.
Okay. So we've looked under the hood at the company and what the market thinks it's worth.
Yeah.
But what about the raw action on the charts? What are the technicals sort of screaming about Quantum Corp's recent price action and trends?
Well, the stock recently took a bit of a hit. It dropped about 4% down to $8.65. There is some minor support showing up near $8.64, very close to the current price. But what's really crucial here is its position relative to the moving averages. Its 50-day and 200-day simple moving averages, the SMAs, they're significantly higher. We're talking $10.69 and $15.01 respectively.
Oh, wow.
And that is a clear downtrend signal. When a stock's price is consistently below these key averages, it usually indicates persistent selling pressure and, frankly, a lack of momentum.
Gotcha.
As for other indicators, the Relative Strength Index, the RSI, which kind of gauges how quickly a stock's price is changing. It sits at 41.7. Think of it like a car's speedometer. Below 30 is generally considered oversold, over 70 is overbought. So at 41.7, it's not screaming buy because it's oversold, but it's also not showing strong buying momentum either. It's sort of in the middle leaning weak.
Okay, kind of no man's land then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the MACD, that's our momentum indicator. It's sending some confusing signals, actually. There's a rare 3-month buy signal, which usually points towards upward momentum. But the short and long-term moving averages are flashing sell, indicating overall weakness.
So mixed signals there.
Very mixed. It's like getting conflicting directions from your GPS. Definitely a sign of uncertainty in the charts. Volatility, by the way, is moderate at about 13.65%. So overall, the technicals point to a bearish, maybe neutral to bearish short-term outlook.
Okay, so the numbers are grim, the charts look bearish, maybe a bit mixed but leaning that way. But beyond the hard data, what's the vibe on the street? Is anyone optimistic, or is everyone kind of feeling the same dread, maybe, when it comes to Quantum Core? Is there any recent news shaping sentiment, any analyst actions?
Well, the market sentiment is decidedly bearish. The Fear and Greed Index, it's currently at 39, which squarely puts it in the fear category.
Yeah,
and the trading signals align with this. There's that general sell signal from the moving averages we talked about.
Yeah.
And also, the price recently broke down from what's called a pivot top. That happened on June 30th, 2025.
Okay, what does that mean, a pivot top breakdown?
So that's a key resistance level where the stock had previously peaked. Breaking below it often indicates a significant reversal. It's usually a strong sell signal, and in this case, it led to about a 13% drop shortly afterwards.
Ouch. Okay.
And importantly, no explicit recent analyst upgrades or downgrades or any significant insider buying or selling data were found in the sources we looked at. So no strong internal or external validation there either.
Got it. So given all these headwinds, the weak fundamentals, the bearish technicals, the fear, are there any specific events maybe on the horizon that could change this trajectory for Quantum Core, or are we just looking at risks? What are the biggest ones investors should be aware of?
Well, Quantum Core was expected to report its Q4 2025 results around June 30th, 2025. That timing might have influenced some of the recent price action we saw. But beyond that, no major announced product launches, no mergers or acquisitions buzz, no big regulatory events surfaced as immediate catalysts that could significantly impact the stock. Of course, macroeconomic factors could affect tech and enterprise hardware stocks broadly, but nothing specific to Quantum Core has been noted as a major driver right now. Which really brings us squarely back to the risks, doesn't it?
Seems like it.
The stock faces significant risk, primarily due to those large losses and the negative earnings. Its share price just isn't well supported by its fundamentals, period. And the existing downtrend, coupled with that bearish market sentiment, only amplifies the downside risk.
Okay.
Then you have sector-specific risks. It's a highly competitive tech environment. Innovation cycles are fast. You fall behind, you're in trouble. And macro factors, as mentioned. Tech hardware stocks are often sensitive to broader economic cycles and trends in capital spending.
Right, makes sense.
Now, the moderate volatility and maybe dropping volume could reduce some immediate sharp risk, but they also limit potential upward momentum. It kind of cuts both ways.
So after this pretty comprehensive deep dive, pulling all these threads together, what's the overall rating? What's the recommendation for Quantum Core? Is it a buy?
Based on our evaluation of all these factors, Quantum Core receives an overall rating of 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, not great. Despite some, very minor short-term support at the current price levels. Quantum Core's negative earnings, the bearish technical signals, those weak future forecasts, and just a lack of strong catalysts make it a highly risky proposition. That applies to both short-term trading and long-term investment, certainly as of mid-2025. It seems better suited for investors who are really willing to tolerate significant volatility and uncertainty, and, frankly, a high chance of further losses.
And what about for different types of investors? You mentioned short-term versus long-term. Is it even a consideration for a long-term hold, or is it purely a short-term gamble, if anything?
Well, for very aggressive short-term traders, one could potentially consider a very cautious, very limited position. You'd need tight stop losses. The short-term signals are a bit mixed, as we said, but definitely leaning bearish. And the volatility and recent losses suggest a high risk of further downside, so extremely cautious. But let me be clear. Given the poor fundamentals, the persistent losses, that negative price outlook, Quantum Core currently just does not appear suitable for long-term buy and hold strategies. It's really not the kind of stock you'd comfortably put away in your portfolio and forget about.
Okay, understood. But just hypothetically, if someone were listening and still thinking about a very, very cautious entry, what might that look like according to the sources? Are there any tactical considerations?
Okay, so the current price is near $8.65, and we saw that minor support around $8.64. That might be considered a very cautious entry point, but only if you see strong, bullish short-term movements suddenly appear, confirming that support.
A big if.
A very big if. Frankly, a potentially better entry if you're aligning with those longer-term downside forecasts we saw might actually be closer to the $67 range should the price fall that far. And for anyone even considering a cautious short-term trade near current levels, a suggested stop loss around $7.90 would be absolutely crucial to limit that downside risk. Potential initial targets for taking profit, if another big, if upward momentum were to develop, could be near resistance points around $8.96 to maybe $10.30. But again, those look like uphill battles right now.
Right. Okay, so in summary then, our deep dive into Quantum Core shows shares facing, well, considerable fundamental and technical headwinds. We've got decidedly bearish market sentiment and a pretty uncertain growth outlook. It really doesn't look like a strong buy for either short-term or long-term investors at this time, unless some truly significant improvements or catalysts suddenly emerge.
Exactly. And, this raises an important question for listeners, especially those maybe seeking those high-risk, high-reward type opportunities. What kind of fundamental shift or maybe a new market development would actually need to occur for Quantum Core to transform into something more compelling? What specific signals would you, the listener, look for to indicate a genuine turnaround might be underway? Something to think about.
Good question. And remember, everyone, this deep dive is based purely on the sources provided, and it's strictly for informational purposes only. For personalized advice tailored to your specific investment objectives and your risk tolerance, please always consult a licensed financial advisor. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive on Quantum Corp. We really hope this is giving you a clearer, more informed perspective. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.